Okay, it's in there. It's pointing at my tower down that way. It's clear the roof line at least, so it should be pretty good.
Hey everyone, this is Nate and this is the Nader Tater channel. Alright, today I'm going to talk about cell phone boosters. So I'm down here in my basement, and this is where I work from home, and I get barely 1 bar of signal down here. And then when I call, it typically goes off of LTE even, and it just goes to the 1X. I want to test this out, see how much it actually helps. They claim it does up to 4,000 square feet of coverage. The way it works basically is you have to put in an antenna outside, and that picks up your cell phone signal that's outdoors, and then it has a repeater that you put inside your house, and then that repeater basically is what gives you the better coverage. And this thing has up to like 65 dB gain, which if you know anything about cell phones, that's a big gain, and that's a lot higher gain than you can get with an external antenna, but it has some drawbacks. So let me go through opening up, showing what's in here. I'm going to install it. I'll show you how I do that real fast. And then we're going to experiment with it and see just how much does it improve my cell phone service here. And this is Verizon phone, but I also have T-Mobile that I'll test out. And then if you watch my channel, I actually have a lot of cellular-based home internet that I do. And there's a lot of debate as far as does it help. Does a cell phone booster help with the home internet stuff, or do you really need an external antenna directly wired to your home internet to get the full benefit? So we'll play with that. I might not do the home internet here today, but I'll for sure do the phone stuff, and then I'll cover the home internet one separately. So let's open the box up and see what's inside of it. Okay, so in here you have the main unit. This is the amplifier, as well as having a built-in repeater that you use for inside the house. This goes in there somewhere, and this you connect your external antenna. I'll show you that in a second. But you can also add on additional antennas to this guy, so you can have another repeater. For example, if this was on, like if you have a long ranch or something, and this is on one side of the house based off where you need it to be outdoors, you could run a cable indoors, this one actually, and have another repeater for this guy on the other side of your house to help get even coverage throughout. For me, I'm just going to install, this is their 4K plus unit, and I'm just going to install it with this single indoor unit here. Now they give you all the cables that you need here for this, and then they also give you, this is the external antenna, so this is an important unit to have outside and have the cleanest signal possible. This does do a really high amplification. They're talking about up to 65 dB of amplification that this guy has by being powered, so you do have to plug it in. And the only downside of that is that it also will amplify any noise that your signal has. So this is where you want ideally the cleanest signal possible out in the open space. But if you really needed to, you could probably put this in the attic and it would work as well. It just wouldn't be as ideal. The one thing to note, they do tell you during installation, is these two things need to have at least 20 feet of separation. And so I think, for some people that could be a challenge, depending on if they have a pole outside, or if they're going to put this in the basement, or if they're going to put it on the main floor of a single-story home. So for me, I'm going to have this in the basement here, right over there, and right outside that wall I have a TV antenna mast that I will run and put this up at the top of it. So I will have the 20 feet of separation there. So then you also have your power cord here to power up the main amplifier. You have some tape. You have a this is a antenna pigtail lead to go from SMA over male to female, a little extension here. They give you the hardware, and then they give you some adapter cables that you need to run different cable types, the type in to SMA adapter, as well as the pole mount kit for running this antenna on a pole. So like I said, I already have a TV pole out there, so I don't even need to get a pole, but if you did, you would buy a little standard pole mount that this could mount to, and then that's how you would mount your antenna there. So that's all the stuff that we have here. Alright, so let me run up my tower outside. I'm going to install this guy and start running the line down here in the basement, and then we'll get playing. They do have an app actually for this. I'll play with that. But there's also an LCD screen here that you can see and pick up, and that can help you tune in your antenna as well. So let me play with it and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so in their Signal Supervisor app, you can go in here and select your device. So I can go here and pick my 4K Plus, and then it actually has a user manual, data sheets, quick installation guide. They also give you the paper copy, but it also does have some videos and other information that you can use to help you get it installed, as well as details about it. So that is kind of nice that they have that feature. And then also you can connect to it. You do have to create an account to add the device, but once you do that, you can log in and you'll connect to it via Bluetooth to get your signal metrics. So that would be really helpful if you are trying to aim the unit and you don't have direct line of sight, or you don't have another person to look at this screen to tell you if your signal is improving or not improving. You obviously want to point the antenna where it gets the best signal. So if you don't know where your tower is, the easy way is just to spin it around 360 degrees slowly until you find the best signal readout on here. So for me, I actually know where my tower is exactly, and I've done a lot of research on that. So I'm going to go up there and point it and check out the results and see where it goes. I'm not going to actually use the app because I'm going to be 30 feet in the air. I want to keep all my hands available for me. But let's go run the cabling, and then we'll plug this into it and see what happens.
Okay, so now we are outside, and you can see right up there is my tower for my TV antenna. And I actually use that for my over-the-air TV, but there's space for me to add this mount just right below the TV antenna, so that's what I'm going to do. And then they do recommend that you seal the connections for the cable. Now, they give you two cables. One's like 16 feet long, and the other about 50 feet long. So I'm using the 50-foot cable I can go all the way from there all the way down here to the basement, and then I'm gonna go in that window right there for this demonstration of how it works. And you need to seal the connection. So for those cable connectors, the type N actually are weather rated, but it's still good to seal them. So this is silicone tape. I'll put a link in it in the video description, but that stuff's really good for being weather tight. It's self-fusing, and it'll be permanent. I mean, you can cut it off, but it will stay on there indefinitely. So that's what I'm going to use for the connectors, and then I'm just going to zip tie the cable on the mast there. Okay, it's in there. It's pointing at my tower down that way. Clear the roof line at least, so it should be pretty good.
Alright, so I got it set up now. For me, I already had actually a hole drilled in the outside of the wall for coax cable to come in. So that was unused. So I was able to take the old coax out and then run this line in there, so that it actually comes in right now temporarily just down through the drop ceiling. I put it right here to test it out. I'm going to play with where I want to put this, but the point is it comes in the wall, and when you look at it, it has a SMA connector for the end of this 50-foot cable. And then they give you this 16-foot cable that goes from that SMA back to a type N to go into the unit. So the reason they do that is so you have a small hole to go through the wall with. You don't need the big type N connector. Just to give you a reference here, here's the difference in size. This size SMA, this bigger size the type N. Now the other thing that they do give you is this little cable, and this one is to go in through a window. So the idea is that this can sneak in and go through the window. For me, on this slider, it did not work. Actually, it was too tight of a fit to actually work inside there. I wasn't able to close the window all the way. But if you have a double hung window or single hung window, this might actually work for you to not even drill a hole through the wall, which is kind of a good idea. So now that I have it set up, I tuned it in. Let me turn it off, and then we will test our speeds out without it, and then we'll turn it back on, and we'll see what kind of speeds we get with it. Okay, so this is my wife's phone, and this one is T-Mobile. based, and then what I'm using is Signal Stream. So this is a app from Waveform, which if you've watched my channel, I've featured their Waveform external antennas before. They also sell boosters like this one, like this HiBoost, and I can get you a 5% discount off on them, but I can get you a 10% direct discount if you buy directly from HiBoost as well. So, but Waveform is great, and they do offer a lot of this kind of neat features. This one is a free app that you can download, and it helps you determine what kind of booster you need. So, in here we can take our first measurement. This is with the Wi-Fi off and with the booster off as well. So we will let it do its measurement. Now you can see on the phone here, it's showing that it has 3 bars, and it says 5G UC, which is ultra capacity. And I do have ultra capacity out here, but I don't think, I'm not sure why this phone says it has 3 bars of 5G UC. It clearly does not have that down here in the basement. And you can see with these speeds that it has a 2.5 download and 0.9 megabits per second upload, that clearly that is not 5G ultra capacity. So I'm not sure what it's doing with that signal indicator, but it doesn't have that kind of speed down here. So you can see it can't even really determine what the signal stats are, and it's because it's very poor signals down here. And same thing with trying to get a phone call, it doesn't really work well down here. Okay, so just to double check, I went into the Android settings and pulled up the SIM card status, and I can see here that we have a signal strength of minus 113 dB, and it does say that it's NR SA for the mobile data network type. And so we'll come back to this and just verify what that signal strength changes to when we have the booster on. Okay, so now I'm on my Verizon phone, and this one looks more realistic. I typically get 1 or 2 bars of shown service down here. See, there it goes back to 1 bar. And oftentimes when I try to do something, it doesn't work. And when I get phone calls, it would typically go to the 1X indicator there, meaning it's not on an LTE band at all. And it may or may not work with cell phone service. Certainly in that back corner over there in this other room, I get no cell reception at all. So let's just take a measurement here and see what this one says I have down here. This time the data is working as far as what technology it is. It's saying it's on 4G LTE. It's telling me I have a minus 114 dBm signal strength. Remember, this T-Mobile was at minus 113, so at least it's showing similar there. It's different bands, so it doesn't really mean much that they correlate with each other. Signal quality is poor, and then we get our speeds actually fairly similar. Again, very slow speeds on here. So these are not good numbers, and really I would say that these even are optimistic from what I see when I'm actually trying to use data on the phone. It often doesn't work down here, so this is why I need a booster. But what this does is this helps you, it lets you see at least what band you're on down here. And that doesn't mean that's necessarily the band you want to boost, because this might be a bad band and it's the only one that you actually get in the basement. So that's where you want to do this test outside and potentially even up on the roof, so that you can understand what your best band is available there, because that's the one you want to take and boost throughout your house. So now let's turn on the booster, and then we'll see how these scores change. Okay, so now I'm back on the wife's phone with T-Mobile, and I have the booster plugged in. I let it start up, and just for reference, I didn't do any settings or anything with it. I just plugged in the cable for the outside little antenna, and then I gave it power, and didn't do anything there. So instantly you can see that my bars went all the way up to 5 bars, and it still says 5G UC. So let's just take another measurement here. I obviously haven't moved, and so you can see my signal strength has now gone down into the mid 90s, and on here again it shows you 4G LTE, and my signal quality is good, and that's my signal to noise there. And then if you look at my speeds, obviously they are an order of magnitude faster. So without a doubt, that signal booster is helping me out tremendously with my speed, from something that was really unusable to now this one is very, very usable. Okay, so again, for a little summary here, the top one is the no booster, the bottom one is the booster. The top one, like I said, really is no signal at all. That's why it couldn't even get the data to populate, what type of signal and what the RSRP was in the signal to noise ratio. It was so poor. And that's illustrated there with my speeds as well being slow. So now let's go over to my Verizon phone. Okay, so now on my Verizon phone, you can see I have 4 out of 5 bars, and it shows 5G now. And one thing to note here is, those boosters work only on certain bands, and phones typically only have a handful of bands based off what carrier that they're on that they can receive. So that's why I'm showing you 2 different carriers here. It's going to be 2 different bands out there. Let's go ahead and start this signal test while I talk. And this is where you can see on this one it shows like band 66, and that tells you the frequency that this one's at. I think this other one most recently was at band B2. So again, different frequency there. But so this one's showing you that it's saying you're borderline on signal quality, signal to noise being a 5.5. But you look at my speeds, very impressive. For being down here 53 megabits a second download and 11.4 upload. Nothing to complain about there at all. Okay, so you can see here very clear difference between before the booster and after the booster. The next big thing I want to show is around my basement. So my footprint here is about 2,500 square feet. That booster is sort of in the middle of the basement. It's not perfect, but it's fairly good, and I'll show you just how well it covers the basement versus what I got before. Okay, so I went back there and brought both of my phones to the far corner of this basement, which is, it's obviously underground, and so it's up against the corner, so it's fully underground, whereas that side's a walkout, and I get no signal there at all. In fact, this test could not even get ran. I ran 3 times, and the best I got with the last time, I did get a minus 118 dBm for RSRP, but I couldn't get it to run any speed tests there. With the booster, I got speeds of 38 megabits per second down and 0.9 megabits per second up. So that 0.9 obviously is hurting a little bit there, but honestly I get some of those issues with the phone upstairs or outside in this area, so that's also not that unheard of. But you can see the difference it makes. It goes from a very poor speed of performance or no speed of performance to having it. And if we look at my Verizon one now, I tested it in there with no booster, and the signal strength was minus 123 with a download of 1.2 megabits per second and an upload of 0.1. So again, effectively unusable. If you were to try to load any websites, it does not work in there. And then the boosted speed, I got 50 megabits per second download and 4 megabits per second upload. So again, certainly a huge difference in not having service to having service. And I didn't cover it here, but voice, even though voice does not take a lot of bandwidth, down here in the basement it would cut out all the time if I'm in this open area. If I'm in one of the back corners, no voice would work. You would not receive calls, it couldn't place a call, and now it can. So certainly a very good working product if you don't have signal in part of your house. If you have metal roof, metal aluminum siding, all that kind of stuff that blocks it, this is something that you can get and all of a sudden take that good signal that's outside, bring it inside. And really, the hardest part for me to install it was just climbing up the tower and try not to fall. That was the biggest challenge. Besides that, it's literally screwing in the cable connectors, plugging in power to that unit. And now I do have a little bit of kind of cleanup or hiding to do, where I obviously don't want it just laying up against the wall. So I'm going to probably run the cable through this drop ceiling a little bit more and place that guy in an inconspicuous either closet or maybe even in the drop ceiling itself to keep it hidden. So I would recommend it to you guys. They have lots of different options, and that's where both either HiBoost customer service or Waveform customer service, if you reach out to them, they can help you pick which one you need based off your carrier that you have and which bands or signals that you have at your actual house. And if you want a discount from HiBoost Direct, I can get you 10% discount. Look in the video description below for how to get that. And then obviously if you have any questions, please put them down below in the comment section. I do read those and try to answer them. So let me know what you think, if you've had a different experience with this. And on my next, or maybe not the next video, but on an upcoming video, I will test out this cell booster with the fixed wireless home internet and just see how big of a difference it can make with that, if it follows what you get with your cell phone or if it's better or worse. So stay tuned and take care.